Welcome to The Other Side of the Page, a bookish podcast where we yap about the books we love
and the songs that give us main character energy.
We're here to sift through the chaos that is our TBR.
And to let you know why a book might just be your next favorite read.
I'm Britt, dramatic plot twist lover and champion for MMCs needing to be more pathetic and down bad.
And I'm Hannah, reader of at least 5 books at once and a detailed fantasy map enthusiast.
Every Wednesday, press play on a brand new bookish episode.
Stay up to date with the books that we will be covering by following us on social media at othersideofthepagepod over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and Threads is where we're most active.
Yes, and don't forget to follow, rate, and review the podcast a shining 5 stars on your preferred platform. It helps us so much with visibility.
Yes, and this week we're chatting about Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan and the songs we're adding to our bookish playlist.
So excited to talk about this one, and we will be deep diving. Finally, you guys, Kennedy Ryan has been on our TBR forever, and we finally were like, we are covering Kennedy Ryan on the podcast. And we will be deep diving our song choices alongside the plot and chatting about our favorite moments and telling you why Before I Let Go should be bumped to the top of your TBR. So grab an iced coffee
or iced chai
and let's turn the page together.
Dear reader, here's the synopsis of Before I Let Go. Their love was supposed to last forever, but when life delivered blow after devastating blow, Yasmin and Josiah Wade found that love alone couldn't solve or save everything. It couldn't save their marriage. Yasmin wasn't prepared for how her life fell apart, but she is finally starting to find joy again. She and Josiah have found a new rhythm, co-parenting their 2 kids and running a thriving business together. Yet like magnets, they're always drawn back to each other, and now they're beginning to wonder if they're truly ready to let go of everything they once had. Soon, one stolen kiss leads to another, and then more. It's hot, it's illicit, it's all good, until old wounds reopen. Is it too late for them to find forever? Or could they even be better the second time around? And we think you should read this book if you want to get deeply emotional while exploring second chances in love and healing after loss.
Yes. And now this book you might want to avoid if any of the following are potentially triggering for you. This was a beautiful, stunning romance, but it was very heavy. So please be aware. There are talks of stillbirth, child death, miscarriage, grief, suicidal thoughts, death of a parent, dementia, car accident. Like I said, this is pretty heavy. So if you're going and looking for a light and fluffy romance, you will not find that here. And remember, too, that we will be talking about this book as a whole. So there will be spoilers moving forward.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about our song choices.
Your song.
I know. It felt right. I don't think I had that hard of a time picking a song for this one. I did listen to a lot and had to narrow it down. But I kept coming back to this one. And if you've listened to us for a while, if you've been around, I did pick Britt's favorite song, Peace by Taylor Swift.
My underrated, underappreciated baby. I love her.
So good.
I mention it every time I talk about it. I do have a Peace tattoo. That's how much I love this song. So great choice, Hannah.
Thanks.
And now I cheated. I picked 2 songs.
Fair.
I just feel like there was a lot to it, and I just couldn't decide what piece of the puzzle I wanted to talk about. So the first song that I picked is You're Losing Me by Taylor Swift. Also one of my absolute favorites and very devastating. And the second one I picked is actually a huge throwback. I have not heard this song in literal years, but as I was listening to the audiobook, I started hearing this song in my head. And I picked Unbreak My Heart by Toni Braxton.
Fun.
So we're throwing way back on that one.
Fun. I need a new adjective.
We need to. Okay, we're gonna ban fun from the podcast.
Yes. Done.
Now we are on to our pages turned and bridges burned section. And so we're going to kick things off with a theme lyric from our songs and then briefly explain why we each picked the song that we did, or songs in my case.
Yep. So my theme lyric from Peace is, would it be enough if I can never give you peace? And for me, this song is really both Yaz and Josiah. They went through something so tough and deep and just both processed it in different ways. And I don't think it's really something you ever get over, which they talk about with that grief. And it's just how you deal with that, right? And so I think their second chance really is learning about how to grow together before they can get together. Is it enough for them if they can never give each other peace, even though they are each other's peace? So that just kind of where it ties together for me.
Yeah. And the first lyric that I picked for my theme lyric is from You're Losing Me. And do I throw out? Oh my God.
It's the middle of
Um,
the day. We don't.
we are nighttime recorders. We do not do daytime recordings. We're night dwellers. We're creatures.
Yep.
All right. So the first theme lyric that I picked was from You're Losing Me, and it's Do I throw out everything we built or keep it? And to me, this song is Yaz's struggle pre-divorce personified. This is her coming to terms with her depression, fighting through every day, and it's still not being enough for Josiah in her
Yeah.
perspective, like through her
Mm-hmm.
own perception of what's unfolding in front of him. She sees him, quote unquote, fighting, but he refuses to take the final steps to go to therapy to like build that back up together. So she feels like she's fighting on his front lines and he's not willing to take that final leap to like overcome that. And the other song that I picked was Unbreak My Heart by Toni Braxton. The lyric that I picked was Take back that sad word goodbye, bring back the joy to my life. And this song is Josiah's POV to me
Yeah.
because this is him grappling with Yaz walking out and being unable to understand how she could just stop fighting when in reality he couldn't see the fight she was putting up for herself and the kids. He felt like she was
Mm-hmm.
just giving everything up. So it's like I feel like You're Losing Me is almost like the response to like unbreak my heart, like say you'll love me again. And we'll talk
Yeah.
about that more as it goes. But that's why I just couldn't pick because once I found both, I was like, okay, I feel like they're two very different
Yeah.
pieces of the puzzle.
Love it.
So, yeah,
All right. So let's talk about second chance romances real quick.
let's talk
Because,
about second chance romances.
like, just a few short months ago, like, I could not get Britt to, like, read a second chance romance. Which, fair. Like, fair. I, like, totally understand your reasoning.
Yeah.
But now I feel like it's one we consider if it's
Yeah.
done well. So, what were your thoughts on, like, this second chance?
I feel like I have been mostly converted about second chance romances. Done well. I'm still skeptical. I think when they're handled with care, I can get behind it. When I can see the pieces of the relationship, what tethered them together in the first place, and I fully believe that those pieces are still there, and I
Mm-hmm.
can see the journey for how they fell apart. Like it makes sense to me how they fell apart, and it makes sense to me why they would get back together. And this was 1,000% one of those books.
Yeah.
I think about like some of my other favorite second chance romances, Left of Forever by Tara DeWitt, Wild and Wrangled by Lila Sage. I just feel like these books handle it with care because there have been a couple of second chance romances where I just didn't I believed that the reason they broke up
Mm-hmm.
was the reason that they should have stayed apart forever. Like it
Yeah.
didn't make sense to me to get back together. So I was hesitant going in, as I always am, but this was handled beautifully and with a
It was.
lot of care for such heavy topics.
Yeah, because I think like with their breaking point, that was
Mm-hmm.
just so emotional. And like I picked up this book. Well, it's been on my TBR for a long time.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? When I was on maternity leave, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna read this. And I was like, I checked my triggers. I'm like, nope, I need to be in a better like headspace for this. And
100%.
I'm so glad I waited for it.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, I read a horror book about postpartum during that time, but
Yeah.
that was fantasy,
I was going to say I
It's,
think there's an inherent difference where like this is like watching a relationship fall apart
yeah,
with that at the helm versus like, someone being haunted by crazy things going
fair.
on. Yeah.
Like yeah, saying it's a mistake broke me though too, because like I think it ties back to your song, which we'll probably
Mhm.
talk about later, but just how like she internalized a lot of that struggle and from the outside you don't see it. And
Mhm.
even like recently going through like postpartum and like,
Yeah.
my daughter just turned 1 and some of those feelings it's hard to convey to
Mhm.
people with that. So
Yeah.
like what were your thoughts with that?
I feel like it was hard for me in the middle to get on board with them getting back together as they were actively seeking other relationships. But I knew
Yeah.
that was part of the reason that they had to be like, oh, this is wrong. Like, this is incorrect. I don't like what's going on here. For me, though, I think it was harder to see Josiah's perspective because Yaz was so much more open about being unsure about it. And we saw
Mhm.
him being a little more closed off. But it makes sense going through his journey with therapy, opening up, and like realizing that he needed to pry himself open to like
Mhm.
experience and feel these emotions. And I got a little mad at him. I was like,
Yeah.
like for him to just be like absolutely not no therapy and then to blame Yaz for walking out when he's like, "Oh, you stopped fighting," and she's like, "I gave you the tool that could have kept us fighting."
Mhm.
Which is where "You're Losing Me" comes in, and I actually think I want to scroll down to my song here real quick. So it literally starts with, "You say I don't understand, and I say I know you don't. We thought a cure would come through in time. Now I fear it won't. Remember looking at this room, we loved it because of the light. Now I just sit in the dark and wonder if it's time." Like that is Yaz talking about sitting in Henry's room after
Mhm.
the stillbirth and just being unable to function, being unable to get out of bed. And this is also, in my opinion, Josiah not fully comprehending the pain she was going through because they dealt with pain in two different ways. It
Mhm.
overtook Yaz and Josiah pushed it away.
Yep.
And neither was a healthy coping mechanism. Neither one. Because you need to be able to feel things, but then you need to be able to process. And Yaz couldn't process, and Josiah just didn't touch them with a 10-foot pole. And like this line, when I was thinking about songs, and I pressed play, this song came on, and I said, "Oh my God, we loved it because of the light for a nursery."
Mhm.
And I just, this song is all of Yaz's struggles pre-divorced, like in lyric form.
Yeah. No, definitely. That song is top tier.
Yeah.
And it kind of ties into one of my lines too. But
Yeah.
I'm going to flip the way the line's written
Totally.
because I think like the line goes, "But I'm a fire and I'll keep your brittle heart warm if your Cascade Ocean Wave blues come."
Mhm.
Um, but I think, the Cascade Ocean Wave blues is that like emotion that Yaz had after Henry, after all this, like the weight of
Mhm.
like the family and you wanted to bring life into this world and then you can't, but I have two kids already. Like
Yeah.
all of the, like it just like cascades like through and through and like ocean waves, it just keeps like hitting the
Mhm.
shore over and over again.
Yeah.
But then as like Josiah learns and grows and he realizes like he's the fire and he'll keep her brittle heart warm. Like he's
Mhm.
there like no matter what when all those ocean waves come through there.
Yeah.
So I think that line means a lot to their relationship as well.
Yeah. And now you briefly mentioned it, but do you feel like now, especially that, Soph is one, you've been through, a year of this, you went through pregnancy. Do you feel like you approach books differently that involve parenting children, pregnancy, or anything like that?
Yes, and I never thought I would
Hmm.
because I remember like reading about parents or pregnancy and like when we first started like "Ugh, a pregnancy," and now it just my mentality is just so much different. Like it just is so
Totally.
much like I feel like things trigger me a lot more too.
Hmm.
Like that's why like I didn't read the stillbirth, but even like the parenting wise, I'm like, "Oh, I'm going to take that parenting note or anything like that too."
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
it does read a little bit different.
I was thinking about that as I was listening because I was like, I feel like I'm connecting with this on a completely different level than like you would be connecting with it. And we talked to Tara DeWitt on our other podcast that we had prior to this. And side note, we will be releasing our author interviews on here, so they'll be housed in one spot. So if you didn't get a chance to listen, you will get to listen in the future. But we
Mhm.
talked about this with Tara DeWitt when we talked about Left to Forever and how even though we're in two very different stages of life, we were able to relate to the same thing in different ways.
Mhm.
And you know, she's one. And that was about taking a child off to college. But I'm sure now, being a parent in this state of mind, it's like, oh God, like one day I'll be doing that.
Yeah.
And one day I will be Yaz arguing with Deja in the kitchen
Mhm.
about
Yep.
something. And I also thought too, this was something I loved was the portrayal of the relationship of Deja and Yasmin. I felt
Mhm.
like this was handled so well. And even though I'm not a parent, I fully related to this having been a teenager.
Mhm.
And, you know, mom and I always butt heads. I'm like this with my dad, mom and I butt heads. I love them both dearly, but it's just our personalities. And I felt Deja and Yaz's push and pull.
You know what? We're going to switch gears a little bit and we're going to talk about how I would love to go to their restaurant. I want them to cook me
Oh,
some good southern food.
I would love to go to their restaurant. And listen, I know that by the end, if if Kasim said ribs one more time, people were gonna lose their minds. But I wanted those damn ribs.
Yes.
Like I
I
wanted
don't
the
even eat
ribs.
ribs, but I was like, I need to
I
try them. I need to try them. They
like
sound so
I
good.
must have them.
I love when books have such like visual places or like side pieces that you can like really see and
Yeah,
taste. And the restaurant is such a big part of the book. And
yeah,
I just want to go. I wish it was real.
I know. It'd be so good. And staying in the same line of like the restaurant.
Yeah. Josiah and the cook, like, okay, they're divorced, they're separated, whatever. But like, don't find somebody at a mutual place. Like, you and your wife still both own and run that restaurant.
Yep.
And you're going to have a relationship with the cook?
Yeah. Yeah. And I just thought like it was a obviously like a proximity thing. And it was like, okay, we're kind of vibing, we're kind of having this. But I think that's what made it harder for me to be like, is he really realizing like that this is what he wants to be back with Yaz? Or was this just wrong? And now Yaz is here. And like that's
Yeah.
the comfortable thing. That's easy. By the end, I fully believed 1000% where the relationship was. But that middle section, I was like, is it though? Or is it just like, okay, like V isn't right,
Hmm.
but Yaz is still there and he
Yeah.
doesn't want to let that go?
And I feel like that's where this one felt like raw and real because I feel life is like that.
Hmm.
Like, a lot of times we
Yeah.
live in this middle, right? We don't know what the end goal is or what other people are thinking or what other people's plans are. So I
Yeah.
think that's why this book, I really enjoyed it because it did feel very raw and real and kind of like, I
Yeah.
don't know, is it? Like it's
Yeah.
getting frustrated because I think we get frustrated with ourselves and people in our lives too that when we don't know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I feel like these were all very flawed, very real characters. Everyone had like a distinct voice. And even bouncing off of that, I loved the relationships, the friendships that we had with like Soledad and
Mhm.
Hendrix,
Yep.
along with Yaz. And I loved their version of friendship and what it meant to them. And, you know, the moments where they bring up something and be like, okay, fine. We don't have to talk about it. That's
Hmm.
fine. I loved their friendship, the way that that was shown. I loved the way that her friends stepped in when it came to Deja, to
Hmm.
Kasim, and I feel like they were the perfect balance of offering the funny, supportive friendship while also keeping her in check and like
Agreed.
pushing her in the right direction or the direction they feel like as her friends she should go in.
No, I was so glad that she had that support system because I
Hmm.
think when her and Josiah get back together, it is for the right reasons. And I don't think she would be there in the right headspace or anything if she didn't have that support from them
Yeah,
along the way.
absolutely. And also another little like storyline that I loved was with the dog and
Otis.
Otis, yeah, with Otis. I loved the little storyline with Otis. I just, for some reason, I feel like because Otis was like so adamant about staying with Josiah and like he seemed like his own entity, like in and of himself, like himself. He had such personality, and
Hmm.
I just loved that they would be coming back together. Do you feel like they handled like them telling Josiah or them telling Deja and Kasim like that they were back together? How do you feel like that was handled?
I don't know if I would have done it another way necessarily. Um,
Correct. Yeah, yeah,
I think it was handled well and felt like natural to them and like what they expected and kind of what they wanted and
yeah,
excited to see kind of where their relationship goes because I wanted to look up who the other books are about in this too
yeah,
because I'm like we're probably going to get a little glimpse of like Josiah and Yaz in the future as well in these
yeah.
other books. What about you?
Yeah, no, I felt like it was handled well. It was just I think that the because their main source of conflict came from like their previous history and their conflict was like getting back together and like pushing toward the end here. The the pregnancy scare, the like that stuff was like, oh god, here we go. Like it was like old traumas resurfacing. It was,
Mhm.
this panic, and you could see in like Josiah's reaction that it was like a almost like a trauma response to what had happened before,
Yeah.
and like the initial panic that was felt, and Yaz's panic in the middle of a southern snowstorm, I should say, sprinting up to the convenience store, all of that. I was like, whoo, Lord, this is a lot for them.
Mhm.
um but also life is a lot.
Yep.
And I, like you said, this felt just very real. And I think that that's where I fell in love with like the chaos and the so many things just hitting them so hard, because sometimes life just does not let up.
Mhm.
And if this romance had been like a fluffy escapist romance and then thrown that at me, I would have been like, whoa, whoa, what the fuck is going on here?
Mhm.
But because there was so much emotional depth to it, because there was so much heart, and because we really got to see and believe in these characters from before, during this, and then even just like a pinch into the future, but we really saw
Mhm.
them on their whole journey. I feel like everything that happened was warranted, and everything that happened didn't feel like it was over the top, but it felt like, oh, this could happen in real life, and this does happen to people.
Yeah, and kind of going off of what you just said, and the next lyric I want to parallel to is,
Yeah.
you said life is a lot. Life is, it's busy, it's noisy, right?
Hmm.
And one of the lyrics in Peace is, give you the silence that only comes when two people understand each other.
Hmm.
And I feel like that's Yaz and Josiah, where once they finally like realized, we're like, no, we needed to be together, because that silence, and not, it's like a metaphorical science,
Yeah.
metaphorical silence where,
Yeah.
they just understand each other. They have that feeling, that love,
Hmm.
and they just want to be there for each other. And that time gave them that ability to have that silence and really understand each other, and that
Yeah.
peace that they were worried that they couldn't give each other.
Absolutely. And I think too, like I said, we got to see every piece of it, because this book does have before chapters. This book has a lot of reflections. This book has a lot of flashbacks. Like this book tackles everything.
Mm-hmm.
And something too, like by the end, I feel like Josiah truly understood like what he missed in Yaz. And I feel like Yaz kind of like accepted the fact that like Josiah was just not in a position to be able to tackle the emotions at that time. And it was just kind of the perfect storm of two people not handling their emotions in productive ways, in quite literally like stark contrast to each other.
Yeah.
And it just didn't work. Going back to You're Losing Me, it's every morning I glared at you with storms in my eyes. How can you say you love someone you can't tell is dying? I sent you signals and bit my nails down to the quick. My face was gray, but you wouldn't admit that we were sick. This is Yaz just screaming into the void that something isn't right, that she is
Mm-hmm.
sick, but being unable to communicate her feelings, and then expecting Josiah to pick up on it and to honor the emotions that she had, when he just didn't even see the emotions because he was buried in work. His grief overtook him by keeping the business afloat, by making sure the
Mm-hmm.
family had food on the table. And Yaz's battle was her own depression and her own emotional state, and like just getting out of bed some days. And that's why I feel like this song just truly encompasses everything that Yaz had experienced. I mean, like, I could read this entire song, but I also put the how long could we be a sad song till we were too far gone to bring back to life. I gave you all my best me's, my endless empathy, and all I did was bleed as I tried to be your bravest soldier. Fighting in only your army front lines, don't you ignore me? Like, they are fighting two different battles. Like, Yaz is in a
Mm-hmm.
battle that Josiah can't see or understand. And Yaz is so deep into this battle that she can't see Josiah running himself down to the bones, trying to
Yep.
get all of that back together. I'm just going to carry that right into Unbreak My Heart, which You're Losing Me was like my dissection song. Unbreak My Heart is like, oh, this is definitely, about this. But, like, I need your arms to hold me now. The nights are so unkind. Bring back those nights when I held you beside me. Unbreak my heart. Say you'll love me again. Undo this hurt you caused when you walked out the door and walked out of my life. Like, Josiah could not see. like he just could not see why Yaz walked out the door. He saw it as giving up. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like, I would do anything to have my family back. I would do anything to bring you back to me. And something that Yaz talked about a lot in her inner monologue and her kind of inner thoughts is like, I don't have the right to feel this way. I'm the one who asked for a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
I'm the one who did this to him. I'm the one who caused this hurt. And so when I heard Unbreak My Heart and it was, take back that sad word goodbye, bring back the joy to my life, it was like Josiah bargaining with the situation that they had at hand. And yeah,
Yeah.
that's just, I feel like these two are just so
No,
connected in that way.
definitely. And something you just said too reminds me of one of my favorite quotes in there where, like you said, Yaz like felt like almost guilty for being sad because she like
Hmm.
did all this. But the quote is, depression, she goes on, is a liar. If it will tell you no one loves you, that you're not good enough, that you're a burden, or in the most extreme cases, better off dead, then it can certainly convince you that you're better off without the man you love, and that ultimately he's better off without you.
Hmm.
Like going on to that too. I'm just going to read my next two quotes because I feel like they kind of are all in that same
I like mine are right there too.
sense.
Let's go for the quotes now.
And this one is talking about like almost like the new Yaz, like after, right?
Hmm.
She's not some or like her past too, just kind of that growth and that healing journey.
Yeah.
But she's not someone you banish with therapy and meds. She is you. You cannot disassociate from her. Until you reconcile that, you won't find true peace. Hence where my peace song comes in too. Um, until
Hmm.
you have compassion for her instead of judgment, you cannot fully heal.
Yep.
And then the last quote I have on here is, I used to tell Dr. Abrams, who was Yaz's therapist, I just wanted to feel like myself again. And what did she say? She said, I would never be that person again. Not exactly the woman I was before. I was fundamentally changed by what happened. It took time and therapy and the right meds before I could really learn to be happy as a person who remained after I lost so much.
Yeah, it really does. Like, if anyone has struggled with mental health issues, with depression, anxiety, anything like that, you know that it's a beast to know intrinsically that what's being said in your head is not correct, but
Yep.
it's so loud and so abrasive and so just aggressive in the way that it takes shape inside of your mind that it does become like an actual like projection of itself on the outside of you. Like you truly start to believe those things no matter how much you fight against it when you don't have the tools or resources to manage. And even sometimes when you do, that beast is quite a lot to bear.
Yep.
And one of the quotes that I put in here too was, it wasn't that I wanted to take my life, but that I didn't want to live it. And it's that I don't want to die, but I don't want to do this anymore. And I don't know how to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And I put another lyric down here too, but I can't find a pulse. My heart won't start anymore. And I
Yeah.
know it ends with the for you, but I think that's just in general, like just those intense feelings and emotions that you have and what mental illness can, like the havoc that it can really wreak on your life. And like we said earlier too, like this is not a light book. There were moments that I laughed, there were moments that I teared up, but the basis of this book is very heavy, but it was handled
Yeah.
spectacularly, in my
Um, one
opinion.
one quote I forgot to say too, which basically what you just said, but they said it in the book, is we weren't just
Hmm.
a love story, we were a life story. And I think that
Yes,
sums up how this book deals with everything. Because it's focused
absolutely.
on the love, but it's really about life.
Yeah. And I have two more quotes here because we were just going in on the quotes. But to piggyback off of what we had before, it was, that's the part of depression people don't consider, that at times it physically hurts and it
Mm-hmm.
can manifest in so many ways, but the physical pain is a lot. But I think the book comes full circle with this one where it says, and I think I'm most grateful for time, which doesn't always heal all wounds, but teaches us how to be happy again, even with our scars.
Mm-hmm.
And this book to me is just about healing emotional scars, dealing with all of life's curveballs, and not knowing how to navigate things 100%, but doing what you feel like was best in the moment to handle the situation. And I think that boils down to Yaz's decisions, to Josiah's decisions, is that in the moment, Yaz didn't know what else to do. She went to doctor after doctor. It took multiple doctors for her to get the right combination of medications, which is very common for
Mm-hmm.
women, but especially women of color. The not being believed, the constant medical gaslighting, so many things. But
Mm-hmm.
also Josiah believing truly in the moment that him turning a blind eye to the grief he should have in theory been experiencing to focus on keeping the family afloat by way of the business, by keeping, income as steady as he could, keeping those bigger financial pieces from Yaz because she was dealing with so much. Like he felt like with the tools that he had in the moment, he was making the best decision for himself and his family. And
Yep.
I think that that's something that my therapist taught me very early on. I had a therapist for 5 years. I saw him, and he always told me that you just have to trust, because if you believe that you're a good person and if you believe you're doing the best by yourself and others,
Mm-hmm.
then even if you have a decision that you regret, in the end, you have to believe that you made the best decision that you could with the knowledge, information, and resources that you had available to you. And even if it resulted in something that you don't like the outcome of, or something didn't go the way that you expected it to, wanted it to, or thought it would, it doesn't mean that that decision was wrong. It just means that you did the best you could in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that translates 100% to Before I Let Go. Like they were doing what they thought they could or what they were capable of in the moment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, the one thing that I did want to mention too, it's a little bit on like the happier, more cheerful side. There was a lot of
Mm-hmm.
tension with Yaz and Deja, but I loved that they were allowing her to explore hair content creation.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved that they were doing it in a way that was, through a parental lens of like protecting her, but also allowing her to explore these avenues, and
Yeah.
how, Kasim was being lauded for his intelligence and Deja was struggling a little bit, but she saw this like spark in an avenue that's not necessarily school related. And
Mm-hmm.
I like the inner workings that we got to see for both Josiah and Yaz. And also Hendrix and Soledad, how they like, played into Deja's,
Mm-hmm.
excitement around these things. And like I said, there was a lot of heaviness in this book, but there were so many golden moments of, like you said earlier, parenting moments and all of these little things that I feel like this book was just a stunning, kind of woven together piece for everything that Kennedy Ryan laid out there.
Yes. I know. I can't wait to read more of the Skyland series.
I know. I'm very excited. So that was Before I Let Go by Kennedy Ryan. That was definitely a heavier book, but we both very clearly loved it.
Mm-hmm.
And if you feel like you can handle these triggers and you're into more emotionally deep romances, pick this one up. If you've listened to this whole episode and you got everything spoiled for you, pick this one up.
Yep. Go listen to them. Go read about their lives. But
Yes.
thank you so much for turning the pages with us this week. Be sure to drop us a follow over on Instagram, TikTok, Patreon, and join our newsletter to keep up with everything on the other side of the page.
Yes. And please, please, please drop a review and a 5-star rating of the podcast on your preferred platform and share it with your bookish besties that might be interested.
Next week is our 5th episode. So we are continuing the emotional deep cut theme with a Dear Reader Track 5 episode. If you know, you know about those Track 5s, Swifties.
If you know, you know. All right, we will see you next week and forever and always.
Keep reading with kindness.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I feel like we haven't recorded in about 87 years.
I know.
And so I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Like, it's still new.
And then I keep forgetting to do stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing with my life? It's fine. It's like we started a new podcast, changed literally nothing about what we do, but all of a sudden I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Let's see if I can do this. If we can do this.
Right?
All right. It's fine.
Their love was supposed to last forever, but when life derailed, blow after derailed.
I mean, kind of both.
Their life derailed, yeah.
It did derail.
And we...
Now we're moving into our pages turned and bridges burned section, and we're going to kick things off by talking about a theme. And we're going to do something with words.
Say something, do something.
Say something, I'm giving up on you. Okay. Honestly, oh, wait. That would have been a good choice too. I'll be the one if you want me to. Say something, I'm giving up on you. Okay,
Oh,
slay.
I was doing You're Losing Me lyrics.
No, I know, but I
Oh.
jumped off of the say something and went into a different song.